So here's an alternative type problem for last diminisher method type negotiations, and I like to refer to this as a storyboard problem. I call it that because you're going to read through it and determine which players acquired each pieces in each round just by reading the events that transpired. So let's read the problem. Consider a cake shared by 5 players using the last diminisher method. The order of play is player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, and player 5. And we know that this order is maintained throughout each and every round. And then they give us a description of what happens in each round. Now, to help me with these types of problems, I like to make a table of values where I record everything that's happening. So let's start by listing our players in a table. And then we'll list the rounds across the top. So let's read through what happens in each round. And here it says round 1, player 1 cuts the C piece. So I'll put cut. And after that, it says player 2 passes. Player 3 diminishes. Player 4 passes. And player 5 diminishes. Reading through that, you should be able to determine who was the last diminisher. And since player 5 was the last diminisher, player 5 will win the piece, and player 5 will be excluded from all future rounds because you only get one fair share. Now we can read what happens in round 2. After the initial claim, well, who makes the initial claim? That is player 1 making the first cut. There are no diminishers, so we'll say pass, pass, and pass. That means that who wins the piece in this round? Well, we'll say that player 1 is the only person who made a cut, everyone else passed, and that means player 1 will be out of the game for all future rounds. Now, since player 1 is out, we know that player 2 has to start with the cut for round 3. Round 3 says after the initial claim, all players diminish. So we have diminish and diminish. So the last diminisher wins the piece and is out for all future rounds. So far, we have round 1, player 5 got a fair share. Round 2, player 1 got a fair share. Round 3, player 4 got a fair share. And now we're in round 4. After the initial cut, well, we know that will be player 2. There are no diminishers, so that's a pass, and that means that player 2 wins the piece in round 4, and that everything that's left is called the R piece, so the R piece goes to player 3. Now, there is another way that the book likes to refer to this. Because these are the last 2 players left, the book will sometimes say which 2 players will be ending the negotiations with a game of divider-chooser. So that was our first negotiation technique we learned in this chapter. And if we were to be asked who was the divider and who was the chooser, we should say, well, the person cutting does the dividing. So P2 was the divider, and P3 was the chooser. And these are just different questions we should be able to answer. And there'll be a series of questions that comes with this. They might ask who starts the cut in the next round, who wins the claim in each round. We should be able to answer all of those questions. This table of values and identifying who wins each pieces and who gets excluded, this should help you answer all of those questions.